Today we're talking about a big, dirty legend, my man, Billy Martin. Billy was the guy who was kicking dirt at umpires, turned his hat backwards and just squared up. He was the guy behind the Pine Tar game with George Brett. He drank every single day of his life. He once beat the shit out of a marshmallow salesman. He also kicked the shit out of a traveling secretary and a newspaper reporter. He fought his own players when he was a manager. He's also a notorious cheater, a sign stealer. He was also managing the Texas Rangers on 10-cent beer night when they played the Cleveland Indians, and a massive brawl broke out between the players. The fans were rushing the field. They were getting high in the bleachers, throwing beers and batteries. One guy threw a gallon jug of Thunderbird at a player, and then Billy told his team to grab bats and go out and kick the shit out of all the drunk fans who had streaked the field. Bring back 10-cent beer night, by the way. That's a whole nother podcast. He was so infamous that his name became a term in the movie Ocean's 13.
Which means we offer banker Billy Martin.
They said, I'm going to give you a Billy Martin. That means a second chance, because he was given 5 different chances by George Steinbrenner to come back and manage the Yankees in a span of like 7 years. That's a revolving door. Fought Reggie Jackson on national television. He kicked the shit out of a bowling team in a Manhattan nightclub. Billy once snuck his middle finger onto a bat for a baseball card. Billy also had 2 girlfriends at the same time. He had a home girl and a road girl. Dude was like a rapper. I got 2 phones. Damn. I mean, what can't be said about this guy? On the bright side, he did win a lot of World Series as a Yankee player. That's 4. He was the MVP of the 1953 World Series. He's also considered to be one of the best and smartest managers in the history of the game of baseball. His son, Billy Martin Jr., once famously said, "Hanging out with my dad at a bar was like hanging out with Billy the Kid, because someone always wanted to challenge him." That's crazy. You can imagine, Billy Martin's just drinking. Some guy comes over and goes, "You're dirty." Next thing you know, bam! Marshmallow salesman hits the ground. From Big Dirty and Cloud 10 Media, this is Big Dirty Legends, a podcast that dives into the hardest living, craziest, and most out loud athletes of their time. I'm your host, Zach Selwyn. In this episode, I'm taking you along as I look into one of the most explosive, brilliant, and controversial figures in baseball history. Talented, chaotic, his name was Billy Martin, and his hard-drinking refusal to bow down to authority and his brilliant managerial style made him one of baseball's most beloved characters until it all ended tragically in 1989. So Billy Martin was a scrappy second baseman as a player. He was a man who never backed down from a fight on or off the field. He won 4 titles. As a manager, he won a World Series with the Yankees in 1977 and technically half of 1978, but he was fired midway through that season. He's considered to be one of the best baseball managers of all time. He turned every single team he managed around, like from the cellar to like the playoffs in a year. He was passionate, generous, and guess what? Not a Hall of Famer, probably because of his off-field shenanigans. He should be in the Hall of Fame for managing. If it was up to me, I'd put him in. Purveyor of small ball. Just an all-around baseball mind. And let's start at the beginning. It all started for Billy in 1928. He was born on May 16th. His name was Alfred Manuel Martin Jr. in Berkeley, California. All right, man. Raised by a single mother, and his grandmother was around, and she used to call him Billis for beautiful. Billis. So he thought his name was Billy. His name was really Alfred, but he went by Billy. I'm glad I didn't go by what my grandma called me. My name would be Mistake. It's not true, Grandma. I love you. Rest in peace. Billy was only 5'11" on the baseball team in high school, but he would spike players. He would run up on you. He would talk shit, and he gets kicked off the school team. What do you know? He was such a good player, he ends up joining an independent ball club called the Oakland Oaks, which was managed by a guy you may have heard of named Casey Stengel. Of course, one of the greatest managers in the history of Major League Baseball. Stengel loves Billy. He teaches him how to steal signs, teaches him how to, win games, by any means possible. Nowadays, you got Astros banging trash cans. Back then, you had to have a baseball mind. You know what I mean? Get in the other people's heads. Stengel is so good, the Yankees come calling, and he goes out in the late 40s, and he takes Billy with them. So Billy just kind of goes along with Casey Stengel to the Yankees organization, spends a couple years in the minors, and makes the ball club in 1950. Now, Billy Martin was never like a superstar, but he was reliable, he was clutch, and he was an enforcer. There's a story where some guy was coming around first to go to second, and they didn't like the way he was like talking smack. And instead of throwing the ball towards the first baseman, Billy just threw the ball at the guy's face. Boom! Like cracked his glasses open, knocked his cap off. Dude went down. That's Billy Ball, baby. He also made an incredible game-saving catch in the 1953 World Series, which I mentioned he was the MVP. And his BFFs were Whitey Ford and Mickey Mantle. Mantle was his roommate at the time, and New York City was beckoning. New York City loved Billy Martin. They loved Mickey Mantle. Of course they did. They won 4 titles in that span of time. Mickey's a walking legend. Whitey's incredible. You know, Billy, of course, is just there for fun and for drinking and for a good time. And they go out one night in 1957 to the Copacabana to see Sammy Davis Jr., the old soft shoe. This is known as the Copacabana incident. It is May 1957. Billy, Whitey, Mickey, Yogi Berra, and Hank Bauer all went out to celebrate Billy's 29th birthday and see Sammy Davis Jr. So they've been drinking all night. It's about 10 o'clock, and a bowling team comes in, a bunch of drunk-ass bowlers, like just fat slobs with little, like, matching T-shirts with their names monogrammed on them. And these guys start heckling Sammy Davis Jr.'s band, you know, racial slurs, like whatever. They're drunk as fuck. And, you know, the Yankees weren't having that. You know, they were not into that shit, and they started a fight with these bowlers. And these guys probably look like Walter Ray Williams Jr., you know what I mean? Like just slovenly pigs, straight off the lanes, smelling like grease, you know, a couple cigarettes. Anyway, there's a huge brawl at the Copacabana between the Yankees and these bowlers. And at the end of the day, one of the bowlers has a broken jaw and is lying on the floor of the coat check room. And the media had a field day with this because, you know, you're not going to see Aaron Judge and fucking Anthony Volpe going out to some club and kicking the shit out of 4 bowlers these days. It ain't happening. You know, different game, different time. But back then, you know, here come 5 hammered Yankees and the media gets on it and, you know, someone's got to take the blame. So guess what? Billy is the guy who steps up. He's like, I hit him. I fucked him up. And the Yankees loved this because this was kind of their excuse to get rid of Billy Martin as a player. They were worried about how he was affecting Mickey Mantle. And weeks later, they traded him to the Kansas City Athletics. And that was pretty much the end of Billy Martin's playing days. He played a couple more years, but never quite had the success he had in New York. So Billy gets back into baseball through managing. And by 1969, he takes the Twins to the AL West title. But what was funny about this season was that he had a pitcher on this team named David Boswell. And Boz won 20 games that year. And one day, I think Billy took him out early. I guess he was giving Billy shit, so Billy knocked him the fuck out. So he punched his 20-game winner, knocked him out, and guess what? Billy Martin was fired from the Twins, even though he had that success and took him to the playoffs. So then he joins the Tigers, Detroit Tigers, and turns that team around as well. Like I said, he was a brilliant manager. He fought with the management there, too. He would get suggestions from higher-ups, owners, and general managers saying, you know, we think you should maybe try this. He'd go, fuck you. It's not how I play my game. Fired. So then he gets hired by the Texas Rangers. Famous Texas Rangers owner Bob Short said, I would fire my grandmother to hire Billy Martin. So obviously he's getting respect as a manager. And at the time, you know, this is Texas in the early 70s. I mean, Willie Nelson's coming up. Country music's everywhere. People are drinking beer and fucking riding mechanical bulls. And Billy's their manager. And the Rangers go from 100 losses to the playoffs that year under Billy's tutelage. They even had a song. This is called they were called the Turnaround Gang. And some country rocker, I can't find who did this anywhere online, but I did find a clip of the song, sang this. That's my jam right there. I want to cover that song, man. Holy shit. You know what the 2023 Rangers played when they won the World Series? They had a Creed song. What? Can you take me higher? Ah, fuck out of here. Give me that country rock shit all day. Anyway, 1974 was a good year for for the Rangers, except for one particular moment. That was 10-cent beer night in Cleveland. Obviously, attendance was low. The Rangers and the Indians had already been going at each other. They had an on-field brawl a week earlier. Martin said no one's going to come out to see the Rangers anyway, so I'm not going to bother even like protecting my players. Cleveland has a field day with that, the press, the media, and they put 10-cent beer night out as a very smart marketing move. Didn't end so well. Let's just say there was a limit too. This is amazing. On 10-cent beer night, you were only allowed 6 beers at a time. Now you can't get more than 2 at Dodger Stadium, and they're $23 for a fucking Michelob Ultra. 6 10-cent beers for each guy. What? That's 60 cents for like 2 liters of, I'm assuming Coors, or what were they drinking back in 74? Lone Star, for 2 liters of Lone Star. We'll get into 10-cent beer night at another time, but Billy was managing the Rangers that night, and I think that's just perfect for who he was. But he loved being the cowboy, figure in Texas. He got enamored with the boots and the hats, hunting and all that. And he started to listen to John Denver. Now, John Denver might seem like a pussy to most people, but in reality, John Denver was a dirtbag. Trust me. Don't ask me how I know. But he had this song, Thank God I'm a Country Boy. Thank God I'm a country boy. Great tune. Billy decided, hey, man, I'm winning. Fuck it. I'm a country boy. We're changing the 7th inning stretch song from Take Me Out to the Ball Game to Thank God I'm a Country Boy. God damn it. Let's just say that didn't go over too well. The new owner of the Rangers, Brad Corbett, said, you are not doing that. Take Me Out to the Ball Game is what we listened to. Martin said, fuck you. Somehow gets it played over the loudspeaker one day and is promptly fired from the Rangers. It's amazing that this guy could have so much success and just keep on getting let go because he did things on his own terms. But that's what happened. And Thank God I'm a Country Boy never quite became the 7th inning stretch song that Billy wanted it to be. There's another great story in Texas. Billy was doing so well, they gave him a new hunting rifle as like a thank you gift. And he wants to go hunting in the off season, so he calls Mickey Mantle, who's a big hunter. And Mantle has a friend who owns a ranch, and I guess there's a bunch of deer roaming around the property. And he's like, hey, Billy, you want to come out and shoot some deer with me on my friend's ranch? And Billy's like, yeah, I'll bring my new rifle. So Mickey says, all right, let me go ask if it's okay, because I don't know if it's in season or what. So Mickey goes down there. They drive. He gets out of the car. He goes to talk to the rancher, and the rancher says, yeah, you can shoot all the deer you want. But by the way, I got an old mule over there. I need you to shoot it because I need you to put it down and put it out of its misery. I can't do it. I've known this guy for 15 years, but you need to go kill him. So Mickey goes back to the car and tells Billy as a joke. He goes, hey, listen, Billy, they won't let us shoot any deer, but we can go shoot the farmer's mule. And so Billy says, all right. Get out of the car. Mickey Mantle goes over, sees the mule, kills it, and then behind him he hears 3 shots, and he's like, what the fuck? Billy Martin comes running over, and he goes, what are you doing, man? And Billy Martin says, I got 2 of his cows. Billy was just shooting fucking farm animals. Great story. All right, so Billy's out of Texas, and who comes calling? George Steinbrenner, the new owner of the New York Yankees. Of course, New York is where he had all his fame and all his success and all his trouble. So when he's offered the managerial job, his wife says, no, New York is a terrible place for you to be. Don't return to the scene of the crime. But Billy's reputation meant where he was in Manhattan at that time, he would never pay for a beer in a bar. He would never have to worry about a meal being comped or something. I mean, Billy was the fucking king of New York. And all of a sudden he's back there in 1976. And guess what? He turns the Yanks around. They win the pennant. They lost the World Series to the Big Red Machine that year. But once again, Billy Martin has a team in the playoffs or the World Series. Then what happens is 77 rolls around and the Yanks realize they're missing one piece to this whole puzzle. And that piece becomes Reggie Jackson. Of course, one of the game's most feared hitters, biggest sluggers, big personality too, and perfect for New York. So Reggie comes in, and Billy immediately hates it. He doesn't like high-priced players. He likes scrappy, guys like him, guys who came up fighting for their roles. He doesn't like big egos. He thinks Reggie's a distraction, and they start going after each other. And Reggie says at one point, famously in an interview when they're asking him about his role in the Yankees, he says, I'm the straw that stirs the drink. Now, I'm the straw that stirs the drink became super famous because it ticked off Billy. He said, no one's bigger than this ball club. Who is this fucking guy? And that began a contentious relationship between the two. In 1977 on national television, Reggie let a ball drop in front of him, which allowed Jim Rice to get an extra base. Billy pulls him off the field, and they fucking go at it. National TV, boom, yelling. They have to be restrained. I mean, it's like that Papelbon-Bryce Harper fight that we saw all those years ago, but neither one of them was a manager. So this is like a 5'11" runty dude going against like a 6'3" fucking beast, and Martin's not backing down, and everyone's like, holy shit. So that's what happened there. But what's crazy is that somehow they put it behind him, and the Yankees win the 77 World Series. Reggie Jackson, the famous 3-home run game in Game 6. So from chaos came a World Series championship, which would be Billy's 5th ring. In 1978, he's a celebrity. He's in all the Miller Lite commercials, wearing the cowboy hat, the famous mustache. I mean, he looked like Morgan Wallen 56 years ago. He's the king of New York, and he gets divorced from his first wife. Then there's another famous moment with Reggie Jackson where he tells him to bunt. Having Reggie Jackson bunt in any situation is basically a kick in the balls. I mean, I saw Juan Soto was asked to bunt a couple nights ago. I know he's hitting 210, but same kind of thing. Reggie Jackson's like, fuck, I don't want to bunt. So he bunts twice, fouls it off, and if you bunt and get a third strike, that's strike 3 on 2 strikes. So he gives Reggie the swing away sign, and what does Reggie do? He goes, fuck that, and tries to bunt again. Bing! Fouls it off. Strikeout. Pisses Billy off. He goes after Reggie in the press again, and Steinbrenner at this point is like, I've had enough. Even though the Yanks are winning, they just won the World Series. He actually tries to swap Billy Martin to the White Sox for their manager. I've never heard of a manager trade, but he tried to pull that one off. That didn't happen, but Billy heard about it, and he said this famous quote about Steinbrenner and Reggie. They deserve each other. One's a born liar, the other's convicted. And that was a reference to Steinbrenner's illegal campaign contributions to Richard Nixon. So instead of getting fired, Billy just resigns. He walks out, and Steinbrenner is the most hated guy in New York for a while. So what does he do? After a pretty mediocre 79 season, he announces that Billy Martin's coming back in 1980. So you can already see a pattern here. Fire him or he quits, and then he's back in a year later. Then in 1978, we are in a bar again with Billy, and a young reporter is asking him questions. And Billy, who's hammered, says, I can get along with Hitler, Mussolini, and Hirohima as long as they play Yankee baseball. And that's a pretty heavy quote, and he immediately regrets it. And so he says to the kid, hey, give me your notebook back. And I want to strike that from the record, right? The reporter's like, hell no. He's like 22 years old. He's like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Jesus, I have like front page story here. So the reporter gets smacked around by Billy Martin. I think he dropped him and kicked the shit out of him in the middle of the bar. Another fight, famous fight, this one involving a marshmallow salesman. We're in another bar, and some marshmallow salesman is there drinking, and he's annoying Billy, talking shit to him about the Yankees. And so Billy famously throws $500 on the bar, and he says to the guy, I bet you $500 to your penny that I can knock you on your ass. Billy Martin's son, Billy Martin Jr., says, that guy still owes my dad a penny. Damn. So he drops the marshmallow guy. He hits his head on the marble floor. It's front page news. Steinbrenner can't handle it. Fires him again. Famous quote, too. They're interviewing Billy Martin about it. And they said, why would you hit this guy? And Billy Martin says, I'm not going to back down from the marshmallow man. Fucking love it. The Oakland A's come calling next. They were so bad at the time, they were known as the Triple A's or the Oakland Pathetics. They did have a young superstar named Ricky Henderson on that team. So what does Billy do? He uses that kid's speed, turns the whole team around playing small ball, stealing home, double steals, bunting. It's awesome. Oakland calls it Billy Ball. The whole city goes into a frenzy, turns the franchise around. Oakland loves their team again and promises to never get rid of them until 2025. You see, they're playing in like a minor league baseball park right now. Anyway, Billy Ball was very successful, and the A's I think the A's made the playoffs. So Then there's a moment where he's fighting all the umpires, arguing every call, and he gets charged with assault, okay, with Terry Cooney, because he threw sand on him like he was the Salt Bay of managers, just threw sand at the dude, gets charged with assault, bumping him, kicking the dirt. Crazy. It was amazing. And, there weren't a lot of managers like this. Earl Weaver was one of them on the Orioles. He used to fight with umpires, too. He once got kicked out of a game before the first pitch was even thrown. When he was presenting the umpire the lineup card, he started talking shit. The ump threw him out before pitch one. And I think Billy saw that and emulated it one day when he was hungover as shit and he just didn't feel like managing that day. He went up, gave the lineup card, and got tossed. But this was like must-see TV. These two managers just like competing to see who could be more caustic and fiery and controversial. So anyway, let's get into this two-girlfriend thing. In the mid-'80s, early to mid-'80s, Billy had been divorced, and he now has two lovers, two mistresses. One he calls his home girl, and the other one his road girl. Sounds like an NBA player kind of move. But this is clever, because what he would do is he had the home girl who he was married to now, and he would visit the girl he was having the affair with, and he'd say, oh, I'm getting paid to go speak at a convention in Denver. And he would fly to Tennessee, where this girl was. But when he got home, he needed proof that he had been to Denver. So he would pay the baggage handlers to make him fake luggage tags that said Denver on it so he could come home and be like, oh, yeah, see, babe, I was in Denver. Game recognized game, Billy. Think smarter, not harder. That's amazing. And, look, the 80s, shit went down. The two girlfriends eventually found out about each other. The press started publishing it. Billy's fighting the liquor. He's a womanizing drunken animal, no matter how much he wins. And, he's going in and out of the Yankees. He's back managing him in 85. Don Mattingly's on the team, winning the MVP that year. They had a decent year, but there's another story with pitcher Ed Whitson. Now, Ed Whitson was having some struggles on the mound, let's just say. And one day, he came into the clubhouse, and Billy had brought in a priest to perform an exorcism on his locker. So that's got to hurt. You walk in like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm exorcising the demons, So then Whitson and him don't like each other. And then one night they're in a bar drinking, and Ed Whitson gets in a fight with an anti-Yankee guy, and Billy runs over. And you think he's going to help Ed Whitson out. Instead, he clocks his own pitcher. He hits Ed Whitson. Now, there's no saying what happened here. Did he miss the other guy, or did he purposely just go for Whitson's jaw? But whatever the case, Whitson's 20 years younger than Billy Martin. He's a horse, and he breaks Billy Martin's arm. So Martin and him have this huge brawl. Martin gets the worst of it, walks out with a broken arm. Ed Whitson's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? This 50-year-old guy's attacking me. Not good. And it also got worse because in 1988, Mickey Mantle and Billy are in Texas, and they go out to a strip club. It's loud. It's crazy. Mickey went home early, which I think is strange because from what I understand, that guy never stopped partying. And Billy stayed out. He's like, fuck it. I got one more in me, So he's hammered. Apparently, some Yankee haters saw him, like Billy Martin Jr. said. It was like Billy the Kid. Everyone wanted to challenge him. And he got the absolute shit kicked out of him. They almost ripped his ear off. And there's famous footage of him with a huge bandaged ear coaching the next day, wearing the sunglasses. Louisiana Lightning, Ron Guidry, famous Yankees pitcher, said, if you saw Billy in the dugout with the sunglasses, chances are he was hungover. Let's just say you rarely saw Billy in the dugout without sunglasses. You know what I mean? Oh, man, look, Billy Martin was beloved and feared. He was a player's manager until he turned on you. He defended his guys, but he also humiliated them in public. So it was a real dichotomy here. He was very brilliant, but he was also extremely self-destructive. And it all came to an end, tragically, for Billy Martin on Christmas Day, 1989, in a car crash near his home in upstate New York. Billy was 61 years old. His friend Bill Reedy was driving. They had been drinking all day, and Reedy survived the crash. Billy did not because he wasn't wearing a seatbelt. The crazy thing is he had been out of a job, and Steinbrenner had called him up and said, you're coming back for the 1990 season with the Yankees. So he would have been back for a sixth managerial position on the Yankees had he not died in that car crash. It was a sad ending for Billy, but I think something a lot of people probably expected. Mantle died real young too, of alcoholism. So look, these guys lived hard, they partied hard, they won a lot of titles, and Billy Martin, to this day, one of the most respected and revered managers in the history of Major League Baseball. He wasn't just a baseball figure, he was a symbol, sort of like how Bob Uecker was, just one of these guys who that's baseball right there. He won everywhere he went, and he got fired everywhere he went. He battled umpires, reporters, owners, players, and himself. Billy Martin loved baseball, and baseball loved him back. This is why he is one of our big, dirty legends. Rest in peace, Billy Martin. We'll see you in that great ball field in the sky. If you're into collecting Billy Martin baseball cards, you must get the 1972 Topps number 33. That is the famous middle finger down the bat card. Long before the Billy Ripken fuckface or the Dave Winfield, Ricky Henderson middle finger down the bat all-star card, Billy threw the bird on a card before anyone else. His rookie is a 52 Topps, just the same as a Mantle that's worth $1 billion. Not as valuable, but still a cool card. Any 52 Topps Yankee is a glorious card. That's it for today's Big Dirty Sports Legends. You can find out more by watching the great John Turturro narrated documentary, Billy Martin #1. Turturro also famously played Martin in the TV series Bronx is Burning. Big Dirty Legends is produced by Big Dirty Sports alongside Cloud 10 Media. Executive producers are Zach Selwyn and Sim Sarna. Research and writing by Zach Selwyn. If you like this story, hit the follow button, leave a rating, share it with someone who loves a good sports tale. And next week, we'll be diving into another story from another misunderstood Big Dirty Legend. This time, we don't know where we're going to find him, but it's going to be fun. My name is Zach Selwyn. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.